Hey YouTube, it's Andrew from Snakeworks. I wanted to make a video and talk about the necessities of quarantine when acquiring a new animal. When I started collecting animals maybe 11 years ago, I didn't quarantine anything. I would go to a snake show, bring a snake home, put it right into the rack with the other animals. I consider myself very fortunate that I didn't pick up anything by not following quarantine procedures, but I recognize now that it's essential to do. I've been very lucky to never have sick animals, but I would never ever bring an animal into my collection without quarantining it for at least 90 days for a captive bred animal. So, what is quarantine? What does that mean? I mean, everyone lives through COVID. We understand quarantine. We've heard the name over and over again. But as far as reptiles, that means setting up a different area in your house, or even better, someone else's house or another building where your snakes are not, where there are no snakes, where you can leave that snake, if it's captive bred, for at least 90 days and observe its behavior. Realistically, you're probably going to have that in your own house, another room someplace else. It should probably be as far away from where your reptile collection is as possible. And you're going to want to use an entirely different set of tools and materials. You won't be transferring anything from your snake room to the quarantine room or vice versa. So that means you need paper towels, water bowls, tongs, temperature, heat gun. Anything that's going to be in one of those rooms is never going to go into the other room. And that means you're going to have a much smaller risk of cross-contamination. So that means when you start the day, you're going to do your snake room stuff first, and then you head up to your other quarantine room. Like my quarantine room is a spare bedroom. So I do everything that I can do in this snake room. Then when I'm done, I go upstairs and I take care of the animals up there. I don't come back downstairs at any point without changing the clothes and showering. So I just make it a point in the morning, I come down here first, do everything, head back upstairs when I'm done, stop in at the quarantine room, do that stuff, and then I'm changing out of my clothes, taking a shower, and then it's okay to come back down to the snake room. But I'm not bringing anything down from that quarantine room. It's like, oh, I need paper towels down there, there's some up there. Like, no, don't do that. That's just going to be okay. The snake I'm holding right now is a Lily Zigzag Python bronchosmi short tail blood python. I figured I'd just introduce that now. She just demanded attention. Beautiful animal I got from Selective Origins. And when I brought her in, even though I bought it from Matt Turner at Selective Origins, who is a very reputable breeder, you still take those precautions. I mean, you don't know what's going on at someone else's snake room. You could buy something from someone you say, oh no, they're trustworthy, it's fine, and they may be, but stuff happens. If they just got some animals in and all of a sudden, they're developing a problem 2 weeks after they sold the animal to you, like, you're gonna have a problem somewhere down the line. It's not worth the risk at all. I've talked to some people who have had problems, who haven't quarantined. Maybe you just get mites, and I mean, by maybe just, I mean, it's still going to be a terrible pain in the butt. Might spread disease. You don't know what they're carrying. But you could be bringing something a lot worse into your snake room, like crypto or nido, and then you're going to be euthanizing animals. So please take the time, do things correctly, and it will reward you. Now, you don't do quarantine only when you're bringing an animal into your snake room. Maybe you've observed something going on with one of the snakes in your room and you don't like it. Maybe an animal's regurgitating food or acting strangely, seizures. So that's another reason to have a quarantine area, so you can pull that animal that's in question out of your collection, isolate it, and then you can figure out what's going on by observing it over time. So I keep the snake room upstairs, well, snake room 2.0 upstairs, just for those occasions. I mean, if I ever see anything that's going on, I take it out. I've had, maybe 10 years ago, the first snake I ever had was thrashing around. It was a ball python. Of course, I thought the worst, you don't know what it is. I mean, that snake's still with me 10 years later it's completely fine. Sometimes snakes just do weird things, but it's not worth taking the chance. It's nice to be able to pull that animal excuse me, out and not expose the rest of your collection. Speaking of exposure, I've been vending shows for the past year. I've seen a lot of people that let everyone handle their snakes as they walk by. I don't let anyone touch my animals. It's nothing personal, but I know that if you're walking around touching everybody else's animals, well, you're going to have all those germs on your hands when you come to my table. So again, nothing personal, but if you were just touching some random snakes from someone who just is only in this to make a buck, like, I don't want you touching and exposing my animals to anything, so I just say no. And it's just the way it is. I want people who buy from me to be confident that they're getting a healthy animal and that they're not going to be exposed to some horror down the line. I think I might do another video about cleaning and the way that I try to keep everything out of the snake room with the different chemicals and procedures that I use. It's almost bordering on OCD to try to keep things clean. If anybody remembers, back in COVID, when people were saying you had to wipe down your groceries, like, I think that's a good analogy for what it's like keeping a snake room clean. Whereas everything you touch, you just realize you could be cross-contaminating something else. So that's for another video. I want to keep this quick. Really just wanted to encourage people to follow quarantine protocols. It's for your good, and it's for the good of everybody else in the hobby. Like, there's just a lot of people breeding reptiles right now and getting rid of reptiles, especially ball pythons at the moment. I see a lot of collections up for sale. Like, it's just, we're in this together. It doesn't make any sense to hurt one another just for somebody to make a quick buck. So please follow quarantine procedures, keep your animals healthy, and this will be a very enjoyable hobby for a lot of people for a long time to come. So if you have any questions or like to talk about quarantine, please just contact me through the comments or through Facebook or Instagram. I'd love to talk to you. And if you're having any issues with your animal, please reach out. I have some experience with vets and 11 years of keeping animals, so I may be able to help you out. And one last tidbit I say, if you do have a sick animal or something's come about with something you've bought, don't panic. Someone has been through this before. They know what to do. It's just a matter of reaching out, finding the right people, and getting good, solid advice. So thank you all for listening to my rant, and please subscribe. Have a good night.